Okay, here's the third try. So the key again is to get the denominators the same. So you look at the number in the denominator first, then look at the x term, then look at the y term. So let's look at the numbers. We have a 4 and a 6. Okay? So if you have a 4 and a 6, the lowest common factor, the lowest number that both numbers go into evenly, would be 12. 4 goes into 12 evenly, so does 6. So we want, in the denominator, we want to have a 12. Then you look at the x term. The x term, you look for the highest order. The highest order is x squared, and that's in the first term. So you want to have x squared also. Then you look at the y term, and the highest order you see in this one is, again, in the denominator is y squared. That's the highest one right there. So y squared. So that's what you want the denominator to look like. The lowest common factor of 4 and 6, and then the highest order of the x and the highest order of the y. So then you come back to each of these two terms, and you look to see what do you have to do to make the denominator in each of those look like that. Okay? So to go from 4 to 12, we have to multiply by 3. To go from x squared to x squared, we don't have to do anything. And then to go from y to y squared, we got to multiply by y. Okay, so then you're going to do 3y over 3y. Remember, whatever you do in the numerator, you got to do it in the denominator too, and vice versa. Then you do the same thing for the second term. For the second term, we have a 6. We want it to be a 12, so we got to multiply it by 2. We have an x, but we want it to be x squared, so we got to multiply it by an x. So you multiply by x, 2x over 2x. Okay? So you do the number first, then the x, then the y. And then just make sure you multiply through. So that it works out. Okay? Now, we know what the denominator is going to be. It's going to be 12x squared y squared, so we've already got that. So we can just write that down over here. 12x squared y squared. Then it's just a matter of multiplying through in the numerators. So 3 times 3 is 9. X times y is xy. We generally put the x before the y. 3 times 2 is 6. And then y. Then we have 2 times x times y. And then just be careful here, it's minus a minus, so it's 2x times 5 is 10x plus 10x, right? Because it's 2 times 5 is 10, and then you got the x and y, and it's a minus, which is plus. And then you just combine like terms if there are any. So here there are, oops, let's come back over here and erase that. Those are the two like terms, x and y. So 9 minus 2 is 7. So 7xy, and then you got 6y. And then you got 10x. And then again, this is over 12x squared y squared. Okay? Now, there is a way to check. So the way you check is you pick a really simple number that you generally don't want to pick 0. And sometimes you can't pick 1 or 2, but usually you can pick 1. For this type of problem, you can pick 1. So all you do is you let x equal 1 and let y equal 1 and calculate it here and see if you get the same answer. If you get the same answer, that means that those two are equivalent to each other, and that means that you rearranged it into the correct form. Okay, so let's try it. X is 1. This is purely optional, but I like to do it just to check. If I'm taking a test and I'm not really sure if I went through all the algebra right, I'll do this just to check, just to make sure that I did it right. And if I get a different answer, then I freak out. Okay, so 3 times 1 plus 2 is 5. 4 times 1 squared times 1 is 4. 1 minus 1 minus 5 is minus 4. And then 6 times 1 squared is 6. But this is minus a minus, so that's plus. So that's really 5/4 plus 4/6. And then again, you could note that 6 and 4, those two numbers, the lowest common factor is 12. So 4 goes into 12 3 times. So that would be 3 times 5 over 12. And then 6 goes into 12 2 times, so 2 times 4 over 12. Or you could just use the calculator. So this would be 15 over 12. 15 over 12 minus 8 over 12. Is that right? 15/12 minus 8. So there's something wrong there. Oh, plus, I'm sorry. Plus 8 over 12. I don't know how I got minus. Plus 8 over 12. So that's 23/12, which is 1 and 11/12. Okay, that's pretty good. Now let's come back and do the same thing down here just to see if it worked out. X is 1 and y is equal to 1. Okay, so we get 7 times 1 times 1, 6 times 1, 10 times 1, over 12 times 1 squared times 1 squared, 12. So that's 13 plus 10, 23. So that's 1 and 11/12. So hey, guess what? You get the same. So that means it worked. So we've got the right answer. Okay, so that's the idea. That first part there is really the key to it. So practice it, and you'll get it.